breaking news. We've learned that the FBI is searching the home of former Ambassador John Bolton, his office as well.
Sure.
Can you tell me, why is the FBI raiding Ambassador Bolton's home and office, and did the White House get a heads up?
Well, so we're in the very early stages of an ongoing investigation into John Bolton. I will say we're going to let that investigation proceed. What I can tell you is that unlike the Biden DOJ and the Biden FBI, our law enforcement agencies are going to be driven by law and not by politics. And so if we think that Ambassador Bolton has committed a crime, of course, eventually prosecutions will come. But as you know, Kristen, this is all part of gathering evidence, trying to understand something that we're worried about. And of course, I'll let the FBI comment on the next stage of the investigation.
What's at the root of this? Is this about classified documents?
Well, again, I'll let the FBI speak to that. Classified documents are certainly part of it, but I think that there's a broad concern about Ambassador Bolton. They're going to look into it. And like I said, if there's no crime here, we're not going to prosecute it. If there is a crime here, of course, Ambassador Bolton will get his day in court. That's how it should be. But again, our focus here is on, did he break the law? Did he commit crimes against the American people? If so, then he deserves to be prosecuted.
As we have this conversation, has Ambassador Bolton been detained, taken into custody, arrested in any form?
So this news just broke this morning, and the FBI, I haven't talked to the FBI this morning. I don't know the answer to that question. I assume that he hasn't been detained and won't be detained until there's a prosecution, if that actually happens.
As you know, Ambassador Bolton is a frequent critic
Sure.
of President Trump's. He's also on Kash Patel's enemies list. The administration has already revoked his security clearance, Secret Service protection. Is Ambassador Bolton being targeted because he's a critic of President Trump?
No, not at all. And in fact, if we were trying to do that, we would just throw out prosecutions willy-nilly like the Biden administration DOJ did, prosecutions that later got thrown out in court. If we bring a case, and of course we haven't done that yet, the Department of Justice has not done that yet. We are investigating Ambassador Bolton, but if they ultimately bring a case, it will be because they determine that he has broken the law. We're going to be careful about that. We're going to be deliberate about that because we don't think that we should throw people, even if they disagree with us politically, maybe especially if they disagree with us politically. You shouldn't throw people willy-nilly in prison. You should let the law drive these determinations, and that's what we're doing.
We learned just moments ago, according to a source, that the FBI conducted a court-authorized search at the home of John Bolton as part of a national security investigation. John Bolton, former U.S. ambassador to the United Nations, former national security advisor under the first Trump administration, a frequent critic of late of President Trump, a frequent vocal critic of President Trump, and President Trump has been a frequent vocal critic of John Bolton. Lots of bad blood between these two men. But again, learning that there is a court-authorized FBI search at John Bolton's home this morning. Let's bring it.
Well, I think President Trump's position is going to be pretty consistent. He does not like John Bolton. Bolton left the White House. So he served for about a year and a half. Left the White House in September 2019, and he was known as a prodigious note taker in the White House, and he immediately sets out to write a really negative book about Trump. And there was a huge fight over something called pre-publication review, and the two sides didn't agree about what could be in the book or what couldn't be in the book, what was classified, what wasn't classified. Big fight about it, and the bottom line is the book came out in the summer of 2020 during the presidential election. A lot of it concerned the president's first impeachment with Ukraine in 2019, which kind of seems like ancient history now, but that's what it was. The Trump administration in 2020, the Justice Department, opened a criminal investigation of Bolton about this book. And then when Trump lost the election, Biden became the president, the Biden Justice Department dropped that investigation. So it could be that this, what we're seeing today, is kind of unfinished business. There was an investigation in the Trump Justice Department, and it could be restarted, and this could be part of it.
Well, the home and the office, we can add the office to the list of Ambassador John Bolton. He is the former national security advisor that butted heads with President Trump during Trump's first term. This happened about 7 o'clock this morning at Bolton's home, a couple of hours later at his office. Now, we are told by multiple sources this is related to the potential for Bolton having stored classified documents that officials believe he shouldn't have. Now, I want to be very clear to everybody watching right now, John Bolton is not under arrest. arrest. John Bolton is not facing any charges, and John Bolton is not in custody right now. We know that he's at his office as authorities continue to take documents out of that D.C. office. We're told that the chairman and ranking member of the House Intelligence Committee were actually told about this in advance, and that CIA Director John Ratcliffe gave FBI Director Kash Patel some advanced intelligence, some limited intelligence, to be able to go forward and essentially get a search warrant from a judge. Remember, a judge has to sign off on stuff like this. So let me show you a couple of posts on X on social media this morning. The first one, if we have it, is from FBI Director Kash Patel. This was posted around the time that agents were raiding Bolton's place. While Patel does not specifically mention Ambassador Bolton, he writes, "No one is above the law. FBI agents on a mission." His boss, Attorney General Pam Bondi, later wrote, "America's safety isn't negotiable. Justice will be pursued always." And Patel's deputy, Dan Bongino, says public corruption will not be tolerated. So a lot of different moving pieces here right now. We're told that Ambassador Bolton's being cooperative. He's not under arrest, not in custody at this point, but still notable, 7 o'clock on a Friday morning, that the FBI all of a sudden is knocking on the door of John Bolton's home.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Bianca. Look, no one is above the law, and this is becoming very evident to people who allegedly did break the law, whether they were a former national security advisor, a former UN ambassador, and now basically moonlighting as a useful idiot for the left on national television. Any chance that he can get, it's quite evident that he had a security clearance taken away in the beginning of the Trump administration. He no longer has a protective detail. However, he is now under criminal investigation for potentially leaking classified information and withholding classified information. This is a very serious allegation, and we'll have to see how far this really goes.
Sure. So the court authorized activity, or however they're describing it, is only one thing. It means that the FBI has a search warrant, which means that agents who were already conducting an investigation assembled enough evidence together and presented it to a federal judge and convinced that judge that there is probable cause to believe that John Bolton's residence contains some evidence of a crime. Now, we don't know what that evidence is. We don't know what the crime is alleged to be. We don't have any of those facts at this point. But agents, you can't just go in and say to the judge, hey, I think that this guy has some classified documents around his house because he used to have an important job. That's not going to get you there. Typically, what you want for probable cause to enter a home is you want to be able to cite the testimony of an eyewitness, somebody who's already been in the home and has seen documents, or who has spoken to the person and has reason to believe that they have documents. Or in the case of many national security cases where people who are in government are thought to be taking improperly materials home, something like that, those people are usually surveilled to assemble that sort of evidence to build towards a search warrant. So agents had to have some evidence here. We just don't know what that is at this point.